people in the group that would like to say something. I'm not sure how many actually, but I know that Don Robson has something to say. We're going to be watching you though, Don. That is how it's going. And then we've got some awards to present. So who is it that had something to say tonight, other than Don? Anybody else got something? Tom, yeah, Tom's got something to say. Michael's got something to say. So, Don, why don't you start? You got a mouthful there. Are you ready to talk? Okay. Sean? Okay. Yeah, we can use the microphone. Michael, why don't you start? You give Don a chance to finish his dessert.
Coming home, we owned the Galiano Lodge. And it was on a Friday afternoon, I think it was in April. And as I came down the road, I noticed the roof was steaming. And I thought, that's rather unusual for the roof to be steaming in the middle of April. So as I got closer, I realized our house is on fire. So as I got a little bit closer, my dad yelled at me, come on, we're going to get the hose and get up into the attic. Now this was a big old 3-story building, so it was quite a little stunt to get a garden hose up into the attic. But we did it. My dad got the step ladder, got up into the attic, and he was spraying water in there. And he pretty well had the fire out, except it shorted out through this old electrical system, which shut the pump off, which meant there was no hope in restarting it. So the thing burnt to the ground. The only good news was the liquor boat was coming in that afternoon. All the loggers had showed up to pick up their liquor. So all the loggers came over and they pretty well emptied the entire lodge out, grand piano, walk-in, fridges, deep freezes, sinks, bathtubs. It was amazing what they got out of there. But it burnt to the ground, and it could have been put out with one simple fire pump. So after this had happened, my dad wrote a letter to the community. I thanked the community for their effort and saving what they could out of the lodge. And at that point, he suggested that the community hall had just finished logging the bluffs, and they had a profit of $4,000, and why not use that for buying the fire pump for the island? So they did. They bought 2 Wajax fire pumps. These were put in the first fire hall, which was up behind David New's property up in the valley, in the woodshed. These were Wajax pumps. There was no actual fire department, but about every 6 months, they'd get a group of loggers together and they would attempt to get the pumps going. It would take 6 loggers to get one pump going, but they were quite amazing. Luckily, we never had a fire and had to use them. So, at that time, there was no fire department. If something caught fire, the telephone operator on Main Island would phone up everybody and tell them there was a fire on the island. So that was a pretty good system. From there, they built the first fire hall, which is now where the information booth is. This was built by Fred and Bill Stevens' grandfather, who built this little building, painted it red, and in the front of it had a glass box with a little hammer, break in case of fire. So you then had to open it up and get 1 or 2 pumps out and 500 feet of hose and some buckets and shovels. But now we had the beginning of a fire department. But we still didn't have a fire department. So from there, the next event, they moved the woodshed from the old school. They brought that down. The old school was the hardware store, present hardware store. So they dragged that down, put it up where Bill Stevens' property is. And at that point, the Paul River Pulp and Paper Company had donated a little trailer that held about 250 gallons of water. So this was real progress. Now we had an actual trailer, but no truck to tow it. So the only truck that would tow it was my father's old Dodge bar wagon. And the big trick was trying to hook it up, especially if it was dark. You couldn't see to hook up the pinhole, so that was quite a little event. So, but now they had a means of water and a fire pump. So this worked out pretty good until one night they had a fire call, headed off with the trailer and the whole shed right behind them, going down the road. So at this point they thought they should probably form a actual fire department. So they had a meeting up at the community hall. Everybody sat around and decided we should form a fire department. So they said, who wants to be chief? And everybody went, not me, not me, not me. Then somebody pointed to me and said, you want to be chief, Don? Well, sure. So I think I was 22 or 23 years old. So now I'm the fire chief. And I thought, huh, what do we do? So at this point, I think it was Eddie Bamberg, Bob's father, spotted an ad in the Victoria paper that the Langford Fire Department had a fire truck for sale. There was no internet, just a telephone, so we thought, well, we should buy this thing, but they wanted $800, which was a lot of money. So we had a meeting in front of the old post office, and everybody threw in $100, and I went down to Langford, I think with Bob's father, and we walked in and said, hi, I'm the fire chief, I'm 22 years old, I'm here to buy the fire truck. So we bought the fire truck. I don't think there was even any paperwork. Down the highway we came with our brand new 1947 Dodge Bickle Seagray fire truck. And I was so tempted to turn on the lights and the siren going down the Pathway Highway, but I resisted. But coming off the ferry, we had lights and siren all the way up the ferry dock. We were very proud of ourselves. We were the second Gulf Island next to Salt Spring to now have an actual fire truck. Pender and Maine were probably 10 years behind us in getting their fire department up and going. So here we now had a fire truck, and our forefathers somehow purchased the old Light and Power building on Whalers Bay Road. And you can see from the work piece, we went up there and made enough room to just barely back the truck in. And when the truck went in and out, we had about an inch to spare on each side without taking the mirror off. So from there, we needed some training. So I phoned up the Vancouver Fire Marshal, told him who I was, and that we needed some training. And he said, well, I'm really sorry to tell you we have no training. So he said, what we can do, we can send you some movie clips. So they sent us over 4 or 5 movie reels, and we went up to the school, used the school projector, and we watched these training films. First one was really good. It was how to fight an oil refinery fire. So, it was very entertaining. The next one was how to fight a high-rise fire. That was quite entertaining. But one of them we actually learned something. So at this point, we now had our fire department underway. Our alarm system was you just phoned the telephone operator to tell the telephone operator. And Paul River Pulp and Paper, which became M&B, they were very good to us. They supplied us with portable pumps. I think we finally got rid of the Wajax ones that wouldn't start. And we had pumps that would actually start. They would come over every year, test our hose for us, supply us with new pumps, new hose, and they basically financed our fire department, other than our truck. So at this point, we rolled along pretty good. We still had no training, but then I realized that there were no rules and regulations. You could do anything you wanted. So, which was a lot of fun. It was very hard to get the volunteers out. It was really boring if you just came out and polished the truck and put hose away. So I thought, well, we'll liven things up. We advertised in the paper, if you're getting rid of an old building, give us a call, and we'll use it for practice. So we did this with a couple of buildings, which were very spectacular. A couple of them here you've seen tonight. Our best one was down at Whalers Bay. We had 2 great ones down at Whalers Bay. One got completely out of control on us. it was an old derelict barge that a fellow owned, and he died. And the new owner, I think, was Jill Penny. Had you bought it at that time? I forget who the new owner was, but they said, we'd like you to come down and clean the old building out and burn it up with this old barge and save the trees on either side. So we thought, well, this is a piece of cake. So we go down there. The whole time we're in there cleaning this thing out, we thought, this place smells like shit. And we thought, he must have had an outhouse off right into Whalers Bay because of this putrid smell. We thought, what on earth is this thing? So we light the thing on fire, and it's about 11:30 on a Sunday morning, and Bob and I are standing there. We said, well, you guys might as well all go home and get some lunch, and Bob and I'll look after it. Well, we no sooner say this than the whole thing takes off like an A-bomb hit it. So we thought, what is going on? So we get the old truck out here. We turn one hose on into the building. That made it worse. So we got the other hose, turned that on. That made it twice as bad. Turned out he had a big tank in this old barge full of cod livers, which had fermented and turned into a very highly flammable liquid that turned out. So somebody was casually driving by, and we said, would you mind just going down and turn the siren on so we can get the guys back all down the line? So, well, that worked pretty good, except all the women went into a absolute panic. Oh my God, the island's on fire, it's the end. So, in the meantime, while Bob and I were spraying water into it, things got worse. All the 6 trees went poof, 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 poof. That was the end of the trees we were supposed to be saving. So, then everybody showed up, and we didn't really have to put it up. We just had to control it. We had guys taking pumps out into Whalers Bay, sinking out of sight in the mud, and it burnt to the ground, and we did get rid of the building. That was a success. The next one was a little further along where the 2 of the log dumps used to be. And this one was owned by Bill and Fred Stevens' grandfather. And it was a building built out on pilings out over the ocean. Part of it was on land, and they wanted to destroy it, so we were the perfect guys to destroy it. So I thought, well, this time we're going to have a sports spectacular.